Most people, if you ask them right now, think they could handle a blackout for at least a few days. Candles, canned food, maybe a camping stove, a minor inconvenience. And that assumption is exactly what gets people killed, because the survival clock in a blackout doesn't start when the lights go out. It starts about 30 seconds later, and it's not counting down to when you run out of food. It's counting down to something most people don't even think to check. This is a realistic fact-by-fact breakdown of what actually happens when the grid goes down, in what order and how fast. Not a doomsday scenario, not a prepper fantasy, just the actual sequence and what it means for you specifically, because how long you'd survive depends almost entirely on one variable, and most people are guessing the wrong one. I'll tell you what it is by the end. We'll go through this in the order it actually happens: minutes, hours, days, weeks, and then the part almost nobody thinks about: what it would take to turn the grid back on. That last part changes everything. Let's start in the first few minutes. The first thing that dies, and this one genuinely surprises people, is your solar panels. If you have a grid-tied solar system on your roof, it goes dark the instant the grid does. Not because of a malfunction, because it's required to. Every standard solar inverter has a safety protocol called anti-islanding, and its entire purpose is to shut your system down during an outage, so that linemen working on the grid don't get electrocuted by power feeding back from your panels into lines they believe are dead. The rule that protects the repair crew is the same rule that leaves your house completely dark on a sunny afternoon. A home covered in solar panels, sitting under clear skies, producing nothing. The backup capability you see advertised is a separate feature, a battery plus a special inverter, sold precisely because the default setup can't do it. Most solar owners don't have it. So that's the first minute. Now here's the thing most people really don't see coming, and it starts almost as fast. Your water is an electrical product. Municipal treatment plants run on grid power. The booster pumps that push water up into elevated storage tanks run on grid power. The stations that hold pressure across the network run on grid power. Most systems carry only a few hours of pressure in their elevated storage, and in any building above roughly 6 floors, water is pushed upward by electric booster pumps. When those stop, the taps above the pressure line go dry almost immediately. Not in a few days, almost immediately. This isn't theory. During the Great Blackout of August 2003, Cleveland lost the ability to pump water to its residents entirely, and Detroit's system shut down, putting millions of people under a boil water advisory for days after the power itself came back. Now here's what everyone gets wrong. The mental image of a blackout is a pantry, canned goods, dried beans. How long until the food runs out? But you can go weeks without food. You can go roughly 3 days without water, and the water is the thing that leaves first. The survival clock in a blackout is a water clock. But here's something almost nobody knows. Your water heater holds 40 to 50 gallons of drinkable water. Your toilet cistern, the tank, not the bowl, holds several more. Most people are standing next to days of drinking water they don't know they have. Remember that. Now we're into the first few hours. This is where the phone dies, just not the way you think. Everyone's blackout plan involves keeping the phone charged. That's the plan. And it's built on a wrong assumption, because the constraint isn't your battery, it's the tower. Cell sites run on battery backup measured in hours, not days. Only a fraction have permanent generators. The rest depend on portable generators being trucked out and refueled, which requires functioning roads and a fuel supply. So you can be sitting on a full power bank, staring at 0 bars, and whatever capacity survives gets flooded because everyone still connected is calling at once. After Hurricane Katrina, regulators tried to mandate a minimum backup period at cell towers. The industry pushed back, and the rule never survived in its original form, which is why backup coverage today is still patchy and largely voluntary. Your phone is a comfort item. Don't build your plan around it. Now we're into the first day or two. This is where people start dying, and it's where the counterintuitive turn I mentioned at the start kicks in. February 2021. Winter Storm Uri. The Texas grid collapses, and millions of people lose power in freezing temperatures. The state's final count: 246 deaths across 77 counties, 161 of them from extreme cold, mostly hypothermia. That's the number everyone knows. Here's the part that matters more. 19 people died of carbon monoxide poisoning. More than 1,400 ended up in emergency rooms and urgent care with it, poisoned by the generators, charcoal grills, and idling cars they were using to stay warm, running in garages and living rooms. In Houston, officials called it a disaster within the disaster. The cold didn't kill those people. The attempt to solve the cold killed them. That's the pattern. In a blackout, the first thing most people reach for is the thing most likely to end them. And it's silent, it's odorless, and it feels like falling asleep. There's a parallel problem in summer, and it may be worse. Modern sealed apartment buildings are designed around mechanical ventilation. Without power, they trap heat. The interior climbs toward the outdoor peak and stays there overnight because the building can't shed what it absorbed all day. Cold is the intuitive killer. You can add layers, burn things, huddle together. There is no equivalent for heat. Once your body can't cool itself, you have no move left. The high-rise designed for energy efficiency is the one that becomes an oven. So there it is, the variable from the start. The answer to how long you'd survive is building type and season. A ground floor house in a mild climate and a sealed high-rise in Phoenix in July are not the same blackout. Same grid, wildly different outcomes. And while we're on who's in the most danger, the people who die first are often already at home, on machines, oxygen concentrators, ventilators, home dialysis. A large and growing population depends on wall power to stay alive. The popular version of this fear is diabetics die when the fridge stops. That's mostly wrong and worth correcting. Unopened insulin generally keeps at room temperature for around a month, and in-use vials are already stored unrefrigerated. Insulin is a week's problem, an oxygen concentrator is an hour's problem. That's where the real alarm belongs. Now, day 2. You decide to leave. That's the default plan for almost everyone. Get in the car, drive somewhere with power. Here's the problem. Gas station pumps are electric, the card readers are electric, the tank monitors are electric. Stations with generators exist, but they're the exception, and even those need a transfer switch and ongoing fuel deliveries. There is fuel in the ground beneath every station, and no way to lift it. After Hurricane Sandy in 2012, fuel became so scarce across New York and New Jersey that odd even license plate rationing had to be imposed, stations that had fuel and no power to pump it. Your escape has a hard range limit, whatever's already in your tank. After that, you're stranded somewhere unfamiliar. No shelter, no stored water, no neighbors you know. And around day 2, something else arrives. This one almost nobody plans for, because it isn't about the absence of something. It's about the arrival of something. Sewage. Wastewater doesn't all run downhill. Networks depend on electric lift stations to push sewage over rises in the terrain. When those stop, the system backs up. In low-lying properties, it surfaces. Basements, floor drains, ground floor fixtures. Within a day or two of a wide outage, the sanitation risk in your home isn't the toilet that won't flush, it's what comes back through it, and it arrives at exactly the moment hospitals are running on backup power. Quick question. Did you know the water was the first thing to go? Most people don't, and it's the one that matters most. Tell me in the comments. And if this is useful, subscribing takes 2 seconds. Now, week 1 and beyond, because this is where the social question comes in. What do people actually do? New York City has run this experiment twice. The blackout of July 1977 produced widespread looting and arson across the city. The blackout of August 2003, far larger, some 50 million people across the US and Canada, passed with remarkably little disorder. People directed traffic at intersections. They slept on stoops. They helped strangers. Same city, same failure, opposite outcome. The variable wasn't the darkness. 1977 landed on a heat wave in a city in fiscal crisis with mass unemployment. 2003 landed on a mild August afternoon in a functioning economy. Darkness doesn't cause collapse, it removes the constraint on conditions that already exist, and that cuts both ways. It's the honest reason not to catastrophize. Now, the final piece, the one that changes the whole picture. An extended grid-down scenario doesn't look like the version people imagine. Wires down, repair crews, a few hard days. The real bottleneck is a single component. Large power transformers, the machines that move electricity at the highest voltages across the transmission grid, are custom engineered for each site. They weigh hundreds of tons. They can't travel on ordinary roads. Roughly 80% of the ones used in the United States are imported, and there is no meaningful shelf inventory. As of last year, industry surveys put the average weight for a standard power transformer at 128 weeks. That's 2.5 years. Some specialized orders are stretching past 4. A Federal Infrastructure Advisory Council has warned there simply isn't enough spare inventory to respond to a major disaster or attack. Damage enough of those transformers, and no amount of urgency shortens the clock. You cannot rush a 4-year lead time. And even with the transformers, turning the grid back on is not a switch you flip. Most power stations can't start themselves. They need outside electricity to run the pumps, fans, and controls that get a generator spinning in the first place. Restoring a fully dead grid requires what's called a black start, a small number of self-starting units, usually hydro or diesel, energizing a path to the next plant, then the next, building the network outward like lighting one candle from another. And there's a trap waiting at the end. When power returns, every thermostat, compressor, fridge, and heater in the region tries to start at the same moment. That surge can hit several times normal demand, enough to knock the newly restored section straight back down. It's why utilities bring the grid back in careful staged blocks. The sequence can fail, it has failed. So here's the honest answer to the question in the title. The grid going down doesn't kill anyone. Every death in a blackout comes from what people do next. The generator running in the garage, the drive that runs out of fuel 60 miles from anywhere, the water they didn't realize they were standing next to. If you know the sequence, you can work with it. You fill the bathtub before the pressure drops. You stay put unless you have a confirmed destination with confirmed fuel. You never bring combustion indoors. You know your phone will lose signal long before it loses charge. The difference between a 3-day inconvenience and something much worse is knowing what goes first. And now, you do. If this changed how you think about it, share it with someone whose whole plan is charge the phone and wait. And if you want the next step, the next video covers what a realistic 72-hour home setup actually looks like. Not the survivalist version, the practical one, it's right there.